Okay, everybody ready? You ready, Jeff? Okay, it's 6:15. I'd like to welcome everyone to our April public session for the Garrett County Board of Education, our second online virtual session, and we're very happy to be able to continue the county's business in terms of our educational system, and certainly want to thank our IT department, headed up by Mr. Yank, for making all of this possible for us. I know there's been a lot of work that's gone into just doing something this simple to get all of our Board of Education members on the phones and to get the streaming live and to get everything going. So the first order of business will be to take roll to make sure that we have everyone here. So if you would just answer each board member and those on the phone that are joining with us. Rodney Gladfelty. Matthew Paul.
Here.
Monica Rinker.
Here.
Charlotte Seabold.
Here.
Karen DeVore.
Here.
And our student member, Katie Catulli.
Here.
Great. Okay, we have everyone. We will enter into our agenda with a moment of silence to be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by our student board members. So if you would join each of us in a moment of silence. I can't remember in my lifetime perhaps having a more poignant moment of silence of things that we need to be grateful for and hoping for as well. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. There is one addition to the agenda before we approve it. That addition will be under new business, letter C, calendar recommendation for revision. We will also entertain as well. So if you would, if I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I make a motion. It's Matthew.
Matthew Paul is making the motion to approve the agenda as amended. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I heard many seconds. I think I heard Monica's voice first. Mrs. Rinker will be the second. All those in favor of approving the agenda as amended signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. And we do have an agenda. I would also ask for a motion for the approval of the consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Matthew Paul, motion to approve the consent agenda. Do I hear a second?
It's Rod. Yeah, I'll second.
Rodney Gladfelty is the second. Those in favor of approving the consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Consent agenda is approved. Now, if you take a moment to look at the public session minutes for the March 10th meeting, I'll give you a minute or so to look over those in case there are any questions, and we'll entertain any questions. And if there are none, we'll approve those as well.
Tom, this is Matthew. I had an issue under 7A.
7A?
Yeah, under the health materials.
Uh-huh.
So the way I understood, I think the motion, first of all, should be reversed. I think the original motion was to approve the whole curriculum or all the health materials. And then that should be the first motion. And then the second motion was to do the posters.
Yes,
That's
you're
the way I
correct.
remember it.
You're correct. I think you are correct. The first motion was to approve the entire package. That motion failed, and the second motion was to approve the videos, which did pass.
Yeah, that's all I had.
The posters, not the videos.
Posters, yeah.
The posters, not the videos, correct, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, we can certainly amend those. Any others off of the March 10th? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept the March 10th public session as amended?
So
Rodney.
moved.
Second.
Okay, Rodney Glasfelty, a motion to accept the public session minutes as amended. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Charlotte to the motion. All those in favor of accepting the public session minutes as amended, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. And the approval then of the March 10th minutes is approved. Now look at the March 24th public session minutes for a second, see if there are any concerns or amendments to that as well.
Tom, under 3B,
Okay?
so it says after board discussion, Rodney made an amendment. We should have the vote on the amendment and then a vote on the total motion.
Yeah, I'll take a second to read what's there.
Where are you at?
3B,
3B under the bus contracts on page, the last page. So where it says after board discussion, Rodney made an amendment, the first vote would be on the amendment, and then
Right.
there would be a vote on the amended motion.
correct. And that is, as I recall, what we did do.
Mm-hmm.
We
Yes,
did take
and that's what I
votes.
recall as well. Yeah,
And as I recall, the vote was unanimous in both categories.
it
I
was.
think our notes will reflect that, but I think they were both 4-0 votes.
I have a correction also when you get finished with that one.
I think we're finished. I think it's just a matter of putting down, recording the votes and making sure they're in the proper order.
Okay.
Go ahead, Charlotte.
Oh, under 3B, the bus contract also, okay?
Mhm.
So when you come down to the very, the second to the last sentence, it says, above that, it says GPS will pay the April transportation, school bus contract payment less the fuel portion / cost. I don't remember cost. I remember that we were going to pay everything, the salaries, the what, other than the fuel.
Mhm.
But, so I don't know what that / cost would be.
I don't know that it means anything other than you're correct. We only agreed to deduct the fuel portion, which is, I assume, a cost to the contractor. So it's probably, either or, however you want to interpret it. But it is one of their costs, but that's a cost we're not going to pay.
Okay, so could we just put fuel portion?
Yeah, it's fine with me. I don't think it makes any difference to anybody unless there's objection, but I have no objection to striking out costs.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other concerns, questions, recommendations, amendments? Hearing none. All those in favor of can I have a motion in favor of the public session minutes with the necessary amendments, changes that we have made?
So approved.
Charlotte is the motion. Do I hear a second?
That was Monica.
I'm sorry, Monica. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Monica made the motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
And that would be Charlotte. Thank you, Charlotte. Okay.
sir.
All those in favor of the public session minutes from March 24th with those corrections and amendments, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, nay? And those carry. And we will now go to the closed session summaries by the superintendent.
All right, thank you. Closed session summary for March 10th, 2020 board meeting. The Board of Education met in executive session on Tuesday, March 10th, 2020 at central office in the boardroom at 4:04 p.m. under Authority 3-305 of the General Provisions article of the Annotated Code of Maryland to discuss the following items. Review executive session minutes, personnel topics pursuant to 3-305B1, negotiation topics pursuant to 3-305B9, legal topic pursuant to 3-305B7, and administrative function topics. Monica Rinker made a motion to close the meeting, and Rodney Glotfelty seconded the motion. Thereafter, the board unanimously voted to close the session with a yea vote from Rodney Glotfelty, Monica Rinker, Matthew Paw, and Charlotte Siebold. The topics discussed in the closed session included the following. Executive session minutes. The board reviewed the executive session minutes from the March 10th, 2020 meeting. Matthew Paw made a motion to approve the minutes, and Rodney Glotfelty seconded the motion. The board approved the minutes with a yea vote from Monica Rinker, Rodney Glotfelty, Charlotte Siebold, and Matthew Paw. Personnel pursuant to 3-305B1. Personnel update and recommendation. Dr. Jane Wilderson provided the board with an update on several staffing matters. She also presented 2 certificated staffing recommendations. Superintendent goals. Mrs. Barbara Baker, superintendent, provided the board with an update on her goals for the school system. Due to time constraints, the board did not discuss this topic. The board took these matters into consideration and voted on the certificated recommendations under the consent agenda in public session. Negotiations pursuant to 3-305B9, Healthcare Trust. Dr. Jane Wilderson, Director of Human Resources, and Mrs. Allison Schweitzer, Director of Finance, provided the board with an update on the Healthcare Trust. They presented an insurance expense analysis and the proposed healthcare benefit language changes for negotiation. Salary parameters. Dr. Jane Wilderson and Mrs. Allison Schweitzer shared proposed negotiated agreements for various bargaining groups and proposed salary parameters for negotiation. The board took these matters into consideration and voted on the salary parameters under the consent agenda in the public session. Legal pursuant to 3-305B7, Healthcare MOU. Mr. Brandon Hoover, Board Attorney, provided legal guidance on the proposed Healthcare Trust MOU with the Board of Education, Board of County Commissioners, and Board of Trustees of Garrett College. Administrative function. Ms. Barbara Baker, Superintendent, discussed an administrative function topic with the board. The board took this matter into consideration but took no action. Recess and adjournment. The executive session was adjourned at 6:19 p.m. so that the board could reconvene the public session. Matthew Paw made a motion to adjourn the executive session, and Monica Rinker seconded the motion. The board unanimously approved adjourning the executive session with a yea vote from Rodney Glotfelty, Charlotte Siebold, Monica Rinker, and Matthew Paw. Board members present included Mr. Tom Woods, Board President, Mrs. Monica Rinker, Board Vice President, and board members Mr. Rodney Glotfelty and Dr. Matthew Paw. Mrs. Charlotte Siebold, board member, attended the meeting via conference phone. Ms. Barbara Baker, Secretary-Treasurer, Superintendent of Schools, Mrs. Karen DeVore, Executive Director of Curriculum Instruction Administration, Mr. Brandon Hoover, Board Attorney, were also present at the meeting. Mrs. Allison Schweitzer, Director of Finance, Dr. Jane Wilderson, Director of Human Resources, were present for part of the meeting. Mrs. Karen Brewer, Executive Assistant to the Superintendent, was present at the meeting for the purpose of taking minutes. Closed session summary for March 10th, 2020 board meeting. The Board of Education met. This is for the March 24th, I believe. The Board of Education met in executive session on March 24th, 2020 via Zoom, a video conference platform under Authority 3-305 of the General Provisions article of the Annotated Code of Maryland to discuss personnel topics pursuant to 3-305B1 and negotiation topics pursuant to 3-305B9. Rodney Glotfelty made a motion to go into executive session, and Charlotte Siebold seconded the motion. Final resolution, motion carried with yea votes from Monica Rinker, Rodney Glotfelty, Charlotte Siebold, and Matthew Paw. The topics discussed in the closed session included the following. Personnel pursuant to 3-305B1, Dr. Jane Wilderson, Director of Human Resources and Employee Relations, Mrs. Allison Schweitzer, Director of Finance, discussed personnel topics with the board, including essential employees, temporary employees, bus contracts, and a personnel matter. The board considered this information but did not take any action on these topics. Negotiation topics pursuant to 3-305B9, Mrs. Schweitzer and Dr. Wilderson provided an update to the board regarding negotiations. The board took no action on this topic. Adjournment. Matthew Paw made a motion to close the meeting, and Charlotte Siebold seconded the motion. The final resolution, motion carried with yea votes from Monica Rinker, Rodney Glotfelty, Charlotte Siebold, and Matthew Paw. The topics discussed in the closed session included the following. There's no other topics there. I think that was in the wrong place. The board adjourned the executive session at 2:58 p.m. Mr. Tom Woods, Board President, Mrs. Barbara Baker, Superintendent, Mr. Brandon Hoover, Board Attorney, were present in the boardroom at Central Office. Mrs. Monica Rinker, Board Vice President, Mr. Rodney Glotfelty, Board Member, Mrs. Charlotte Siebold, Board Member, and Dr. Matthew Paw, Board Member. Mrs. Karen DeVore, Executive Director of Curriculum Instruction Administration, Mrs. Karen Brewer, Executive Assistant to the Superintendent, attended the meeting remotely. Dr. Jane Wilderson, Director of Human Resources and Employee Relations, and Mrs. Allison Schweitzer, Director of Finance, Mr. Richard Wazlowski, Director of Maintenance, Facilities, Operations, and Transportation, attended part of the meeting remotely. That's the end.
Okay, announcements?
Okay, first announcement that I'd like to make is that under the consent agenda, we have approved Mr. Ryan Wolf as a new principal at Southern Garrett High School effective July 1. So we congratulate Mr. Wolf and the teachers and community of Southern High School. He will do a wonderful job. And then also, Mr. Woods, I'd like to just read verbatim some announcements regarding our continuity of learning plan and our COVID-19 response. I would like to take this time to update the public on our continuity of learning plan by using a series of bulleted points to address questions, concerns, and even rumors that have been heard in the community or emails that I have received. First of all, we were required to submit a continuity of learning plan to the State Department. We tried to take into account families with or without internet, families with more than one child, etc. The plan is currently on our website. It is changing, but that is based on feedback from the State Department, parents, teachers, and principals, and etc. We did extend the deadline for the submission of the elementary work in the packets and online. However, we have met with all principals to find ways to continue to provide daily assignments and enrichment activities. And I would like to state again, each principal has been asked to make adjustments for individual students whenever possible, and that's elementary, middle, and high school. The State Boards of Education did meet today to address a number of issues, including a waiver of the 180-day requirement, service learning hours, grading, and assessments. However, I am not going to make any announcements this evening regarding those decisions because we have a meeting tomorrow with the State Superintendent, and I'm sure she will clarify her position. As soon as we know more, I will make an announcement of any changes that the State Department has authorized. There are a number of rumors regarding graduation, promotion, and end-of-year activities. To clarify, if your child meets the requirements, he or she will graduate. There is a rumor that students will have to go an extra semester, which is not true. There is a rumor that students will not get credit for their work from home. That is also not true. We are working on final guidance, but if your child meets the requirements, he or she will graduate. If your child needs additional support on the continuity of learning plan, we will provide that to the best of our ability to ensure that all students meet the requirements for promotion and graduation. Unfortunately, we will have to cancel both high school proms at this time in their current form because the locations are closed. If we do get back to school, we may be able to have some sort of celebration at each school, and the same is true for graduation ceremonies. If we can't do something formal, we will try to do something to celebrate this wonderful milestone in our students' lives. Report cards for the third grading term will be coming out via email. If we do not have an email address, they will be printed and mailed. Teachers have a little bit of time to enter grades, but you can look for the third report card to come home soon, hopefully no later than Friday. The county government has taken a very active role in bringing broadband to our residents. We have gotten several comments about internet connectivity. The school system has supported any initiatives with partnering our internet service providers and allowing our schools to be used as hubs where needed. However, we do have a couple of roadblocks and three main issues to hotspots, and those are most areas lacking broadband also lack cell coverage. Even our best covered areas are difficult, including Mountain Lake Park, that would not support digital learning. And when we do provide internet service to students, even in their own home, we are still obligated to filter the internet, and we don't have a system yet in place to be able to do that. So a number of questions that we get regarding connectivity we are working on, but we know that we lack certain abilities in that area. Any other support that your child needs to complete the packets, to complete the online work. We of the central office instructional folks are all here to support your child, and your principal is there, your teacher is there, and I encourage you, if you have concerns or needs, please reach out to someone, and we are here to help you as we work through the continuity of learning. The state superintendent has not made any determination on last day of school, when we will go back, if we go back, but hopefully we will have that information very soon. So right now, we're operating as if we will go back on the 27th, but we have all kinds of contingency plans in case we don't.
You know, I think, Superintendent Baker, one of the things that is most impressive to me that we've been able to continue to do is provide meals to all of our students. I know you sent us out some numbers today, and as I recall off the top of my head, as I did that, we have served in the vicinity of 38,500 meals.
Yes.
During the time that we've been off, which is just incredibly outstanding. When you consider that those are being delivered by volunteers, they're being made by those that have in essence volunteered to come into our kitchens, or our employees, but they are, they're doing that on a volunteer basis, that they want to come in and help. So, that says a whole lot about the county and the people in it, and what we're trying to do to make sure that students are getting fed well and are getting all the things that they need to continue to learn.
And you are right, 38,000 as of last Thursday, 38,338 meals at our 16 sites, and we will continue to deliver to the 16 sites as long as we can through the closure.
Yeah. So a great big thank you to Scott Germain and his staff for doing something that is very vital to the success of our students, and certainly very vital to the families.
Yes, absolutely.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will now go to public comment, which obviously will be a little different in that we have no public here, but we did solicit emails, and we did receive 5 of those, which I will read in a moment. The Garrett County Board of Education is pleased to receive comments and ideas from our public pertaining to policies, procedures, and practices of the school system. We ask that comments be limited to a maximum time of 3 minutes per individual unless otherwise considered by the board president. There will be no discussion or action taken at this meeting, but may be considered at future meetings. Issues that are specific to individual employees should be referred to the immediate supervisors for appropriate consideration and review. Rude, slanderous, or threatening remarks or other behavior that is disruptive or interferes with the order of the meeting will not be permitted. The first email that we received is from Jessica Whitehead, and I will read it as such. I would like to request that the educational packets provided to our children be a formal educational order. We were given our first round of education packets to be picked up on April the 3rd from Route 40 Elementary and Grantsville Elementary. After getting the packets home, opening them, and trying to sort through them, it was much to my distress that I found a lot of the pages were copied onto the back of the other pages. This made it very inconvenient, hard, and stressing, on top of everything we're already dealing with. For us as parents to try to figure out where each topic was located or what was due for each day. There are pages given as guides for what is recommended to be completed each day, but we have to page through the entire packet looking on front and back for what we are having our children complete. The packets are 2 weeks worth of work. An example, social studies was copied onto the back of the math reading. Math was copied onto the back of the reading, writing, and art. Writing was copied onto the back of grammar, reading, and music. It was explained to me that this was done because of the lack of paper or to try to save paper, as the packets are pretty dense. I would like to point out here that the Grantsville Elementary packet was in order. The issue fell on the Route 40 Elementary packet. While I understand and completely appreciate the fact of trying to save paper, the least that could have been done was to keep each class copied onto the backs of those like classes. Example, reading into the back of reading, writing onto the back of writing, grammar onto the back of grammar, and math onto the back of math. The pages listing that is due for the day and or for the week should not have work assignments copied onto the back of them. Because of this, they cannot be kept in the order when trying to make sure we are completing what is due for the day and or the week. Thus, having to page through everything and search continuously to ensure we have indeed not missed anything. I am speaking for our home and the homes of a few others, as this was brought up in conversation with other parents who have children that attend the same school and feel the same stressors as well. I do not feel that we are asking for too much here, and we appreciate all the hard work everyone has put into creating these packets for our children so that we can continue their education at home. I am just asking that this be simplified a little bit to make it easier for us parents, as we are not certified educational teachers, and every little bit helps when trying to survive our new normal. Please take this into consideration, and God bless, Jessica Whitehead. Thank you, Jessica, for your comments, and certainly they will be taken into consideration of all of our future packets. The second email comes from Jeannie Wilt, and it reads, I feel that if any senior still has service learning hours to complete, they should be waived upon the circumstances. After all, it is not the child's fault that they're unable to get them completed, and they shouldn't have to risk getting sick. And again, thank you, Mrs. Wilt, for your comments. The third is from Michelle Richter. Overall, I feel that the continued learning has been okay. However, there are a few things that I think could help. I have 2 high school students, and it seems as though assignments are random and sporadic. They are constantly having to reprioritize assignments as new ones unexpectedly come in. I would love to see assignments come in Monday morning and turned in by Friday night. They deserve some time off on the weekends to relax a little. I would also like to see the chance to make some corrections and see what has been done wrong on papers so that they are actually learning, not just getting a grade. Thanks for taking this into consideration. Again, Michelle Richter. Thank you, Michelle. The fourth one comes from Dave Moe. In March of last year, this board accepted a bid from Educational Facilities Planning, LLEC, EFPP, to help Garrett County Public Schools develop a strategic facilities plan. The elected Board of Education then appointed a committee to work with Dr. Lever of EFP to develop a strategic facilities plan that was presented to the elected board last November. Between now and then, our county state legislative delegation has been able to secure a major change in the upcoming school construction formula that will result in saving millions of dollars for county taxpayers if the elected board develops a timely plan to resolve issues discovered by their appointed strategic facilities committee and its consultant. During the tenure of the facilities committee meetings, the elected board and the consultant met with the county commissioners who repeated has asked for a long-term capital budget plan from the elected board. So my question is, what date are the elected board members going to transmit or present a long-term capital budget forecast to the county commissioners? And again, that comes from Dave Moe. Some of that, I will interject, will be discussed later as we talk about action on some of our projects, and certainly at that point in time, we want to give a tremendous thank you to Senator Edwards, Delegate Beitzel for an incredible thing that they have done. But we'll save that for the appropriate time to talk. So Dave, thank you for your comments. The last one comes from Tammy Walling. I know of many areas around the United States which have e-learning. They provide laptops to each student. Garrett County School System doesn't do this on a normal basis. Is this a possibility for students who don't have a computer? Some students may have a personal laptop but don't have internet access, like my son. Could you provide a hotspot or internet specifically for student work to be submitted? Another option would be, could you help to get internet in homes where there isn't any DSL or fiber or at lower costs to families? This would make it the responsibility of the family for paying a lower cost for internet, yet if they don't have a computer or laptop, you could still provide it. Again, thank you from Tammy Walling. So thank you to the 5 of you who took the time to provide for us public comments, and certainly each of those have importance and will be discussed, I'm sure, by the superintendent and her staff and the elected board members as well as we move forward. So again, thank you so much. We're going to move now on to school library proclamation. Unfortunately, we're not able to have any of those people here as we normally would have representatives from schools and many others, but I would like to read for you the school library Month proclamation to thank those people who do that each day in our school system. Whereas the school library program is to ensure the students and staff are effective users of ideas and information, and whereas the school librarian's role is to provide the leadership and expertise necessary to ensure that the library program is an integral part of the instructional program of the school, and whereas the Board of Education has entrusted the school librarian in each school to teach the skills of locating and using information through traditional resources and new technologies, to provide literature appreciation activities, and to guide and encourage content and recreational reading to every student. And whereas lifelong learning begins and is systematically developed through the school library curriculum of the elementary and secondary schools, and whereas the school library program contributes to the individual growth and development of all students while fostering both excellence and equity in education, and whereas the school librarians of Garrett County have dedicated themselves to work for quality library programs for all students, now therefore let it be resolved that the Board of Education of Garrett County Public Schools does hereby proclaim April of 2020 as School Library Month in all of the public schools of Garrett County, and calls upon school administrators, teachers, students, and citizens of Garrett County to recognize and support this action to participate throughout the month of April in the celebration of School Library Month. And certainly we echo that our school librarians provided tremendous service, and I'm sure a lot of people right now are taking advantage of reading lots of things that to make the days become a little bit shorter.
Thank you, Mr. Wood.
And lastly, we would like to acknowledge National School Nurse Day, and once again, we are so sad that we are not able to have those folks here to take their picture and thank them with an elbow bump, I guess, would be the appropriate way to do that now. So National School Nurse Day, May 6th, 2020, will be taking place in May the 6th, as I said, but we want to do it now because our meeting will be afterwards. Whereas children are the future, and by investing in them today, we are ensuring our world for tomorrow. And whereas families deserve to feel confident that their children will be cared for when they are at school, and whereas all students have a right to have their physical and their mental health needs safely met while in the school setting, and whereas students today face more complex and life-threatening health problems requiring care in school, and whereas school nurses have served a critical role in providing health and ensuring students' academic success for more than 100 years, and whereas school nurses address the home and community factors, such as social detriments, that impact students' health, and whereas school nurses are professional nurses that advance the well-being, academic success, lifelong achievements of all students by serving on the front lines and providing a critical safety net for our nation's most fragile children, and whereas school nurses act as a liaison to the school community, families, healthcare providers on behalf of the children's health by promoting wellness and improving health outcomes for our nation's children. And whereas school nurses support the health and educational success of children and youth by providing access to care when children's cognitive development is at its peak. And whereas school nurses are members of the school-based teams to address the school population. Therefore, Garrett County Board of Education hereby proclaims May 6, 2020, National School Nurse Day, and celebrate its observance in Garrett County. And certainly, along with school nurses, I think all of us daily think about the job that all of the doctors and the nurses and those associated with hospitals and taking care of the hundreds of thousands of people in our nation now with the virus. We certainly appreciate the job that our school nurses do every day to keep our children safe as well.
Absolutely, thank you. Yes.
Okay, we're going to move on down to project bids, and this is something for action, so I'll ask Mr. Weslovsky to join us and present to us some of those items.
And good evening.
Good evening.
I'm here this evening to request bid awards for 2 capital improvement projects. I provided a document for you. The first one is for the Ucklade Security Vestibule. We had, this is an interagency commission for school construction through the school safety grant program as the funding. Garrett County was awarded $200,000 through the grant. we had one bidder, on April 7th, and it was, Harbell Incorporated for $159,000. So therefore, based on that, I'm here to request, that we award a bid to Harbell Incorporated, the security vestibule yacht glades.
Well, I entertain a motion first, and then we'll have a discussion. Is there a motion to accept that bid?
This is Matt. I'll make a motion to accept the bid from Harbell.
Okay, motion by Mr. Paul to accept the bid. Do I hear a second? Is there a second to accept the bid?
This is Rodney. I'll make a second to that motion.
Okay, there's a second to the motion. Now we'll have discussion.
This is Monica. I have a question. I know initially when we got this funding amount, we had anticipated or hoped that it would be enough to cover accidents and yacht glades both. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
What made the cost of it be more than what we had actually anticipated? Do you know why?
I probably can't say specifically, other than, materials. I think when we got into it, the scope changed a little bit when we found other, you know, as we get into renovation, some other things that need to be addressed. But, so those are probably the key drivers to that project.
Okay.
With regard to accident, it came in significantly over even what we anticipated. So we are in the process. We selected yacht glades right now, because we think we can go back at accident and try to reduce the cost by looking at changing some things in that. Obviously require us to look for some other funding to do that. But that's why we selected yacht glades to come forward tonight, because we're a little bit closer to the, there's not enough, we can't value engineer enough out to significantly lower the cost.
Right. Now, this
So-
school
so there-
safety grant money,
Okay.
sorry, this is Monica. Do you think that before long there'll be more grant money come available for other projects?
I can't answer that in terms of the future, with what the interagency is going to do with the grant money at this time. This is actually part of the FY19 grant, and I know it's a grant for FY20. And we have, to this date, I've not received any information on what's going to happen for FY21.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Rich, this is Rodney. I have a question. So if we got $200,000 for the project and the bid was for 159, to the remaining, the amount that we're not spending.
Well, we have the A&E and contingency costs, but there'll be some balance that we could, you know, look at some other small project or you know, or try to spend out of the grant.
As long as it meets, as long as it meets the.
Yeah, as long as it meets the criteria. But the hope now, that anything that we can carry over out of this, we could apply to accident, reduce the cost, and possibly come up with funding to come back forward to get accident approved.
Well, that's what I would hope to do.
Yes.
Try to get some extra money out of the state for this.
Possibly,
To
yes.
fund the accident fund.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay, there is a motion to accept the bid as provided by Harbell for the amount provided for yacht glades. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Okay, the motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, the second project is for FY21 from the IAC through the Capital Improvement Program for school construction. It's for the front facade renovation and repairs of Southern High School. We had a funding amount of $2,970,000, and we received a bid from Harbell Incorporated for $1,967,400 as the only bidder. So the project was significantly under the projected cost. So at this time, I'm asking board approval to award the contract for the Southern High front facade renovation and repairs.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to apply the facade to Southern High School as the low bid of $1,967,400, which is again considerably under the amount of money that we have to work with. So is there a motion to that end?
So moved. This is Monica.
Okay, got a motion by Monica. Got a second by, was that you, Rodney?
Yeah, I can second that.
Okay, second by Rodney. Discussion?
Yes, I have a question. Since this one went the opposite way, was under the estimated projected cost, which I know things could change as the project moves along, the money that possibly won't be spent on it, do we get to use it on other projects, or how does that work?
The county portion would be a discussion between the Board of Education and the county commissioners based on where that money would then be reallocated.
Mm-hmm.
That's where that discussion would happen.
Yeah, we would have to discuss that with commissioners as to whether we could keep the money for other projects or, you know, that's a discussion I'm sure we will have immediately upon approval of the bid.
One final question with that. So then, to my understanding, the state funding would all be spent off the top, and then the balance we would take from the local funding. Is that correct?
No, it would lower, the percentage stays the same, but it's the percentage of now the bid cost. So
Okay.
it'd be a little bit less for each of us, meaning the state's portion and also the local.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we would not get to keep all of the local money.
Right. It would just proportionally.
Any of the state, right?
Right.
Good question.
Other questions? Good question. Other questions? Okay, hearing none. There is a motion on the floor to accept the bid as presented by Herbal. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. And the motion carries.
Thank you.
There is some other information there for you to go through that's just informational items at the moment, so I would certainly encourage the board members to look at that other informational items there. But again, those are just for information at this point in time.
When are we gonna go?
Budget amendment action. I'll ask Ms. Schweitzer to present that to us, please.
Good evening. We do have a budget amendment presented to the board this evening. We are asking for action. The first portion of the budget transfer is to reallocate the insurance budget. When the board approved the budget, we didn't have all of the details in from CBIZ. And so while the overall amount of the insurance was correct, it was allocated to the wrong category. So we're asking the board to take action to reduce operation property liability insurance by $37,570 and increase pupil transportation vehicle insurance by $30,000 and increase maintenance vehicle insurance by $7,570. In addition, this evening we are recommending for action another transfer required due to the board's expense of a strategic facility study. Due to a favorable budget variance of a mild winter, there is $45,000 that can be reduced from operation heat line item to increase the administration contracted service by $45,000.
Okay, you have the recommendation in front of you. Do I hear a motion to accept the recommendation?
This is Rodney. So moved.
Okay,
This is Matt.
Rodney.
Second.
Second by Matt, discussion?
Yep.
Yes, I have a few questions. This is Monica.
Hmm?
When we are reducing operations of property liability insurance, does that mean that our rate has changed?
No, nothing changed. The renewal increase for all of our insurance was at a, off the top of my head, I don't exactly remember what the amount was going into the new fiscal year. But the percentage increase of all of our vehicles was much higher than the liability insurance on our property. So the overall spend was the same. Nothing changed during the fiscal year. It was just budgeted in the wrong place of insurance.
Okay.
Because we do budget projections in January and February, and we don't do the renewal of the insurance until May. So while the overall amount of dollars increase was within the budgeted amount, it was the fact that the vehicle insurance increased so much more substantially than the property.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the line item.
Okay. Our last vehicle that the school purchased, for many uses, would that have made a difference too? Having another vehicle, would that have been on this, or would that been on different insurance?
No, the vehicle insurance overall increased in double digits. I think it was 13% year over year,
Okay.
which is the largest percentage we've ever seen, Mr. Wazlowski and I. So it wasn't because of a specific vehicle.
Okay. I guess my
I have a
question was adding a vehicle. That's what I meant. Not saying a specific vehicle, just adding more. That's what my question was.
No, each vehicle adds a very small incremental cost.
Okay.
I believe it's less than $1,000. So it's not.
Hey, Allison, I have a question. This is Rodney.
Mm-hmm.
We're not really going anywhere with those vehicles right now, right? They're sitting in a parking lot because of the shutdown. I've read that some insurance carriers are actually reducing the cost of insurance by 10 or 15%. I think it would probably be able to actually call our carrier and ask them if they can give us a break due to the fact that those vehicles aren't being utilized like we anticipated.
Yeah, Mr. Wazlowski actually did that a week and a half ago. So we're working on that.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions, concerns?
This is Monica. I have one final question.
Okay.
Where we transferred money for the strategic facility study from reduced operations of heat, is a strategic facility study now paid for in full from having it done?
Yes, it was paid for in the fall, but the budget transfer needed to be made.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Anyone? Okay, we do have a motion on the floor and seconded that we accept the recommendations of Mrs. Schweitzer. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. And it carries. Okay, we're going to go down to the DFAB fund balance. Yeah, that's on my other thing. I'm sorry. We're going to stay there under new business. We've got to do the count. The one I wrote down. I'm using the one on my screen. No, thank you for telling me. We do have one, there was one agenda item that was added, and it was the calendar recommendation for revision. I'm going to ask the superintendent to explain that to the public as well.
Thank you. As I stated earlier, I think I stated, the state superintendent today did request of the state board to waive 5 of the days that we missed for the emergency days. So our thought is that we will have to make up the other 5, for a total of 175 at the end of the, school year. And these days, as we're working on the continuity of learning plan and our teachers are working, she has confirmed that these days will count towards each one of those, required 175 days. But because of COVID-19, they did move the primary election day that was originally scheduled for Tuesday, April 20th, which was a day off for students. And I would like to recommend to the board that we make that a day of school for our students and a day of work for our staff, to get one day made up earlier in the year than, let's say, in June. Even though we're not 100% sure what the next days will look like, whether that will be back in school or whether that would be online learning, I'd like to recommend to the board that we do have school on Tuesday, April 28th, 2020.
Okay, you have heard the recommendation by the superintendent. I will entertain a motion for that recommendation.
This is Matt. I'll make a motion to approve that as a day.
Okay, it's April 28th as a day of school. Do I hear a second?
Yeah.
Second by Rodney. Now we can have discussion. Is that discussion, Mr. Paul?
No, I don't know. Did Rodney say anything?
I didn't say anything, but I'll second it. That's Scott.
No, we got Rodney's second. We got his second, but we
He never said anything.
We heard your laugh.
That's why I laughed. I didn't say anything.
Yeah, we have a motion. We have a second. Is there any discussion by anyone?
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay. If there is no discussion, then we will vote on the recommendation that Tuesday, April 28th will be a day of school. That would be, in fact, we go back on Monday, Monday would be the first day of school back, and we would have the second day off. So we'll see how that all plays out, but we'll go with that for now. Those in favor of the recommendation, signify by saying aye.
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 Those against, nay. And the recommendation does carry.
Thank you. Thank you.
And now I'll ask Mr. Schweitzer to come back and discuss the DFAB fund balance policy. As she is doing that, we had discussed earlier that we certainly can't do it to the extent we want to. But for those of you watching, there aren't any words that can express the tremendous amount of gratitude that the Board of Education has for what Senator Edwards and Delegate Weitzel have done for the citizens of this county. Those of you that follow it closely know that through negotiations with Governor Hogan, and certainly we're giving a tremendous amount of thank you to Governor Hogan, that we have gone from our capital project expenses in Garrett County from a 50-50 split, whereas the state would put up 50, but our county would have to put up 50. We are now going to a split that's 89-11. The state will put up 89% of the cost, and the county will put up 11% of the cost. I'm sure when the commissioners saw that, it was like having the grandest birthday party ever. So you know, we are very excited about the future of our county. We have a study. We would have liked to have been working on that right now, but we all of a sudden we've got a virus to contend with, and when that's over, hopefully in the next couple of months, we'll put all our focus on that. We fully intend to have to the commissioner's office in plenty of time what we think as a Board of Education we need to do with our county in terms of capital projects. So again, if they're listening, hopefully maybe they are, but there'll be a time and a place that we can do this formally and do it to the extent that we want to. But George and Wendell, what you have done for this county is the most incredible thing I think any of us could have ever imagined, and I'm sure the other board members who aren't able to be here have the same sentiments. But from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you so very, very much.
Yeah, that was great work they did. Amazing.
Okay,
Mr.
with that,
Wood?
yes, ma'am.
Can you explain when that will take effect? What was the year for that? The fiscal year?
We don't have all that information yet. We've not been given all that information. The bill has not been signed due to the fact that the governor has a little more important things to do right now than signing the bills, but it is a part there. So, you know, we have no reason to believe that it won't eventually happen. But until it does happen formally, then, you know, we'll wait for that to happen, and then we'll see what the clock is on it, and we'll go from there. But we have no reason to believe that it won't happen.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Allison, you want to talk about the DFAB fund balance?
Yes. So tonight is the first read of a brand new proposed policy, named DFAB for fund balance. So, a little historical perspective on this issue. From May of 2007 through the end of November of 2018, the Garrett County Board of Education was in an MOU agreement with the county commissioners, in which any amount over $500,000 of fund balance had to be approved to be retained by the Garrett County Commission. At a November 26th, 2018 board meeting between the Garrett County Commissioners and the Garrett County Board of Education, it was agreed that the commissioners would rescind the MOU. So, as staff, we went through the end of fiscal year 2019 with the understanding that the Board of Education would retain all funds within its fund balance. However, due to the Governmental Accounting Standards Board recommended best practices, the Board of Education really should have a policy in place to dictate how fund balance is used, what the amount should be, and this is something that the Rodehaver Group had asked to work on this fiscal year. So the proposed policy was brought forth at the March 12th Policy Committee meeting, and there were recommendations that were taken into account from Mr. Paul and Mr. Glossaldi that are seen in the draft that you see here. But the overarching goal of this policy is to provide the Board of Education flexibility to be able to move their money where they see fit, but also abide by best practices of the Government Accounting Standards Board, which recommends that a government entity maintain a fund balance to cover between 45 and 60 days of operation. So what you see proposed here is that the board maintains 45 to 60 days of budgeted revenue less the county's portion, because the county commissioners have their own fund balance policy that in theory should cover local portion of our revenue. So with that,
So you are making recommendation that we accept the fund balance analysis with.
The analysis is really just to help the board
All you need is the
understand
draft.
what the words mean.
Okay, right.
You know, as a
Sure. Well,
narrative, I guess.
I guess I always go to the money part first. that drives.
Well, and the analysis is really to prove that you're already well within what this policy
Is saying. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it is a first read, so
Yeah.
we're not asking for
Right.
approval this evening,
Mhm.
but certainly we could entertain any questions.
Yeah, it is a first read, and there is, you know, some information there that certainly all of us have digested. Are there any questions for Allison?
This is Charlotte. I have a couple.
Okay.
Usually when we get a policy, we get a procedure, which usually helps me understand the policy. Will we be getting that procedure on this?
No. Normally there isn't a procedure. Most other counties don't have a procedure
That was the short answer is no, unless you feel there's one that, you know, is overriding that we need to prepare. But, I guess the feeling is from Schweitzer that, the policy itself is pretty self-explanatory as to how it's going to be implemented.
Okay, the second question, the second question is it's unrestricted fund balance. I went online to look at some fund balance policies, and they're usually on the whole fund balance, just not the unrestricted fund balance. Is there a reason for that, or?
Well, the unrestricted includes the other types. So it includes the committed, the assigned, and the unassigned. If you go back to the definition, if it's restricted by Government Accounting Standards Board definition, if it's restricted by an exterior body. So if it were local funds, it would be restricted by the county commissioners. In your case, the MA funds are restricted because they're restricted by the MA program.
Okay. So that could just say fund balance, right?
No, because a fund balance is made up of restricted and also non-spendable. Non-spendable is normally an inventory or a prepaid of some sort, like a prepaid insurance. But all of that encompasses fund balance.
Okay.
And the reason is we couldn't use that to address those other issues because it's restricted for other purposes, so it wouldn't cover our emergency costs.
Okay, I have a hypothetical question to ask on this. If we decided, the board decided to put a roof on one of our schools, how would this work into that decision?
Well, the board can make that decision if the roof costs an amount in excess that would make the fund balance, the unrestricted fund balance, go below that 45-day threshold. This policy allows the board to have 3 years to replenish to get back to that amount. So you do have the flexibility to use the fund balance as long as you have a plan of how you'll get back to achieving that amount of money.
Okay, so in the policies I looked at for fund balance, they had the plan in the policy, how you were going to get back to that. So should that be part of this policy? And what if we don't have it in 3 years?
Well, our auditors would be very quick to mention it to us if we didn't mention it before that. But I would recommend that you not have a plan detailed out, because then you're strangleholding yourself. You don't know what kind of situation you're going to be in. And really what I was trying to propose was as flexible as options as the board could have, so that you have the autonomy to be able to throw in a portion for the roof to make it happen, if that's what the board wanted to do.
I think that's a very good point that Allison makes, is if we define our plan, then we're held to that definition. If we say that, we got 3 years to decide how we're going to do that, then we indeed have 3 years to have all the flexibility in the world to make the fund balanced. I personally, I think that's the better strategy to go.
And I think that's the key. It depends on when it is and what we've done. So the key, I think, is when we spend it, we make the plan.
Yes.
And I
When
would
we
like to
said-
point out that Mr. Porter from the Rodehaver Group did review the policy, and he believes that it's just fine. So,
Well, thank you for telling me that.
yeah.
Other questions?
I have just one. When
Okay.
Allison was introducing it to us, she said, with this policy, it would provide flexibility to move the money. Do we not already have the flexibility to move the money without the policy?
Well, you do, but you don't have a policy to say why you have a fund balance. So it's kind of like a loose end when you get into holding taxpayers' funds, that you really need to have a reason or show what you're doing or why you're doing it. That's what this policy is about. So.
And the change in the MOU with the commissioners sort of brought about a need for us to develop a policy as to why we are keeping a fund balance, rather than, remember, when we had the MOU, we knew what it was gonna be every year. At that time, that was the agreement.
Hey, that's right. Allison, there's nothing to prevent us from going over the 2-month reserve, right?
No. Right. There's nothing.
So we could make the fund balance more than what's being required under this policy, right?
You could do that.
I think the guidance she's given us is best practice analysis of 45 to 60 days is what is recommended.
Right. So,
Other questions? Other questions? Okay, well, thank you. Thank you, Allison. Again, that's the first read. We'll take that up in the May meeting. Okay, we are now going to go to our student member who's been patiently listening to this, and we certainly invite her and thank her for being a part. But Katie, you want to give an update of your report in terms of, I know it's got to be very difficult with no school, no activities going on, but I'm sure that there are some things you'd like to report and like for the public to hear. So Katie, the floor is all yours.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to start by apologizing. It is kind of a longer report than you'd expect. I asked people that I knew and I put it on social media for people to comment their experiences, and I tried to do them justice to the best of my ability, and I compiled some of those experiences. So I'm going to start with my personal experience during online learning. I have 2 online Garrett College classes, so nothing has changed with those classes, which I was really lucky about. So basically half of my schedule is the same. And then I also had calculus, so AP calculus, and we meet every day for about an hour, and that's on Google Meets, and it's really helpful because we can go over those questions that we have and continue to review for the AP test. Of course, it's not as efficient as an hour in class. An hour online is not the same because of the internet lags, and it's definitely less productive, but it is some sort of a solution to the issue. And I will say my other class that I have in school is theater, and this class is not very conducive to online learning. We tried to do Google Meet, and it did not go very well. We were trying to sing the opening, but Google Classroom is helpful with that. And then I will say another thing that's been really hard, and I know everyone is experiencing this, is as a senior and other people who are not seniors but are still in high school, our entire spring activities and everything that we look forward to outside of school has been canceled. You know, we miss seeing each other every day, and it's especially hard because we're all going through these hard times, but we can't be there together. So one thing that a lot of people said was, and I wholeheartedly agree with, is that we hope that prom and graduation will be postponed, not canceled, especially senior trips, award ceremonies, all of these activities that every other graduating class is about to experience. We hope that these will be postponed and maybe we can do them in the summer, where reports show hopefully the coronavirus will have subsided slightly. Of course, we don't know what's going to happen, but definitely hope that it will be postponed, not canceled.
Excuse me, Katie. Somebody needs to put their phone on mute. I'm getting a lot of background noise. Hopefully. There's a lot of talking in the background. It's hard to understand you.
That's better.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's not you.
I hear it too.
Well, it's somebody in the background talking on one of the open lines, so hopefully they can mute it.
Yeah, I don't think it's happening in the boardroom, Rodney. Nobody has their phone.
No, I think it's somebody that's calling in that's got background noise in their house.
Oh, I got you.
So
I've got mine.
I'd appreciate it if it, what's that?
This is Charlotte. I've got mine on mute, so it's not me, okay?
Okay, not me. I'll have mine on mute.
Okay. Okay, Katie, let's try it one more time.
Okay. Did you hear anything that I said?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah. We heard it all.
Just checking. Sorry. So I have a. Now
We left
we're
off
gonna
at
move into.
not canceled, maybe postponed. That's where we left off.
Okay. Thank you. Just checking that I wasn't just droning on uselessly.
You were.
So I was going to move into other comments and concerns that I heard from other people. So I want to say that my teachers have been incredibly understanding during this time, and I think all teachers have been incredibly understanding. And I've been lucky to receive a comparable amount of work that I would have in school, but I had received a resounding response that not everyone has had the same experience. And people who shared their experiences on social media to me said that they were receiving much more work than they felt they would have even in school. And we know this is a stressful time for everyone, and that teachers are definitely, everyone is learning on how to change from in-person, face-to-face learning to trying to deliver that material online, which is definitely a learning curve for everyone. But I just wanted to share that these are stressful times. Everyone is anxious about the coronavirus and sad that their spring activity has been canceled. So the workload for many people has been too much from what I've heard, and this is causing even more stress. And I'll say, we all know that this was not the teacher's intent. Nobody wants to cause undue stress, but I'm definitely sharing what I've heard, that a lot of students feel like they are receiving too much work. Another thing is that some students are having an issue with online learning, especially students who do better with a visual learning or having in-person learning, and they said that having online video meetings would really help with students to communicate questions and concerns that may be harder to communicate over emails to get their point across. And I know for me, having online meetings has been really helpful, and I also know that this isn't really a possibility for everyone, but it's something that for students who are learning online, maybe teachers could consider doing that. And another concern about that is people who are receiving work via not online but through the packets. The online meetings would put them again at a divide, which is something to take into consideration. But it would definitely be beneficial for students who are already receiving their work online. So enough about that. The last thing that I want to say is a really positive note. I heard from some students who are in allied health that they are performing care as certified nursing assistants because we are under the state of an emergency. And they perform care at the nursing home, wearing gowns, goggles, masks, and gloves to prevent the spread of the virus. They work 4 to 5 days a week, and along with other care duties, they help to keep residents company on holidays and their birthdays because visitors are not allowed at this time. And I just thought that was a really positive thing that these students get to experience working on the front lines during this emergency.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Katie,
Can I
sure,
respond?
sure.
Ms. Catulli, this is Mrs. Baker. And, you know, you probably did hear me earlier announce the proms, unfortunately. And that is because the locations are closed. But I did talk to Mr. Edwards, who also was collaborating with both principals, that we do want to try and do something once the ban is lifted on the number of people and the amount of travel and leaving our homes. So I guess we probably should say postponed if possible instead of canceled. But unfortunately, in the current form, they will have to be canceled. But definitely, we will look at having a prom for both schools at a later date if possible. And I hope you did hear me say that as far as the graduation ceremonies, you know, we absolutely, that's one of my favorite days of the entire school year. And I think that you're absolutely right that every other student that has graduated from Garrett County Public Schools, including myself, including Mr. Hoover, including Mr. Gang, including a lot of other people in the room, did get to experience that. And so I think we will make every effort to try and get the current seniors a very nice graduation ceremony in some form, okay? And,
thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. And you're also correct that the teachers, the principals, we've all said to please be conscious of what people are going through. And so I think you're right. I don't think it's, I think teachers always have high expectations, but I think students should reach out and say, can I modify an assignment? Can I have a little extra time? Can I have some accommodation if it is too much? And all the principals are aware that kids can request that because we know what you're going through. It's hard enough, I know, to do the work, much less to try and do it remotely or virtually. So please, if they have reached out to you with those concerns, please encourage your classmates to reach out to their teachers and their principal to work with them and to modify it if necessary, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Are there any other comments by board members you'd like to share with Katie?
Just congratulations, Katie, on the college you're going to in the fall.
Thank you very much.
Are you going to go to college this fall, Katie? Well, maybe you want to tell us where you're going to go?
I just accepted at Harvard, or I.
Dog is barking in the background.
Yeah, I know you're happy. I know you're happy, Katie. Not nearly as happy as your parents. Okay?
I'm very excited.
Yeah, I know. But hey, listen, they're very excited. Congratulations. That's an incredible honor and an incredible amount of work that you put in, and we're very, very proud of you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you so much, Katie. Your April Home and School Connection is there for your viewing. We'll ask if there are any board member updates that you'd like to give, anything the board has done that you'd like to talk about. I don't know what it would, I know I've not done a lot of anything except wish this Groundhog Day would hurry up and end. If there's anything to share, go right ahead.
This is Charlotte, and I'd just like to say thank you, students and the parents, the teachers, and the administration who are all working so hard during this time to continue the learning process for our students. And we know there are problems out there. Please contact Mrs. Baker. She's, able to hopefully help in some way. And just thank you for doing the things you do.
Absolutely, Mrs. Sebold, you're right.
Yeah, very well said, Charlotte. There's a lot of people putting a lot of work into what's going on. Any other comments or updates by anyone? Again, I'd like to thank the IT department, Jeff and his guys, for all they're doing to make all this work. And it's not an easy thing when you think about all the things that we've distributed to kids to try to learn, and making sure that those things are ready and taken care of. And it's there's a lot of work that goes in, and there's going to be a learning curve, like anything. We're going to have a learning curve, and we're going to get better at it each day and each week, and sooner or later all this will be over, and we'll all be back to school again one of these days. But right now, I think we're doing as good a job as we can possibly do, given the circumstances.
All right.
Anything else, anyone? Well, thank you. I'd like to thank the public for being a part again this evening. We will be going back into executive session. We recessed from executive session. So again, thanks to the general public for that.
We'll have to come back to public.
To adjourn.
Right, to close, right. Okay. No, recess. No, we don't need to vote.
Yeah.